call to order the regular board meeting and PINCO meeting of the Antelope Valley Union High School District. I would like to announce that the April 20th, 2022 regular board meeting is being conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953B concerning teleconferencing of meetings. Board member Dr. Victoria Ruffin is participating in this meeting by teleconference from 4631 East Avenue S, Palmdale, California, 93552. This location has been identified on the meeting agenda. The meeting is being recorded and all actions will be taken by a roll call vote. Dr. Ruffin, please respond to the following questions. Are you able to hear our proceedings on your end?
Ms. McGrady, Dr. Ruffin has not joined the meeting telephonically yet.
Okay, so we will skip over those and go. We are going to close session. I understand that we don't have any comments about closed session. So no, okay, we will then, Board of Trustees will go to closed session and reconvene the regular meeting at 5 p.m. Thank you. Good evening. We would like to reconvene the regular meeting of the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board in our beautiful new boardroom. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here this evening. I would like to announce that the April 20th, 2022 regular board meeting is being conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953 concerning teleconferencing of meetings. Board member Dr. Victoria Ruffin is participating in this meeting by teleconference from 4631 East Avenue S, Palmdale, California, 93552. This location has been identified on the meeting agenda. The meeting is being recorded and all actions will be taken by a roll call vote. Anyone wishing to observe the meeting may do so via Antelope Valley Union High School District's YouTube channel. Individuals who take photographs or record meetings, provided the individual's conduct may take pictures or record meetings, provided that the individual's conduct does not constitute a disruption, including obstructing the view of others. The district encourages members of the public to attend board meetings and to address the board concerning any item on the agenda or within the board's jurisdiction. The board does not prohibit public criticism of its policies, procedures, or programs, services, acts, or omissions. Similarly, the board does not prohibit public criticism of district employees. Speakers are cautioned that no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments simply because those comments are made at a public meeting. Attendees are also reminded of the board's civility policy, Board Policy 1313. This civility policy requires that members of the district staff will treat parents and other members of the public with respect and expect the same in return. The district is committed to maintaining disruption-free board meetings. The board will not permit any disruption or willful interruption of its board meetings. Persistent disruption by an individual or group are grounds to terminate the privilege of addressing the board. Persistent disruption by an individual should be grounds for the board president to terminate the individual's privilege to address the board. The district promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among district board members, district employees, parents, and the public. The district seeks public cooperation with this endeavor. I would like to ask Dr. Ruffin to respond to the following questions. Are you able to hear our proceedings on your end?
Mrs. McGrady,
Yes.
Dr. Ruffin has not joined the meeting yet. We'll advise when she does.
Okay, we will set that aside. I think I heard that there's a large accident over on that side of town. So hopefully she's not in the accident herself, but just caught in the traffic surrounding that. We will move on and come back to that when she's able to join us. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Ms. Perrell, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Raise your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have any comments from the floor on the PINCO meeting?
We don't have any comments at this point.
Okay, then we will move right on to B. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and authorize the purchases outlined on the attached schedule. May I have a motion?
Motion.
That was Ms. Perrell, a second. Second from Mr. Rush. Do we have any discussion? Okay, hearing none and having a motion and a second, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, Ms. Perrell.
Aye.
Aye, and Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye, and Mrs. Nguyen is not able to be with us this evening, so she is absent as well. So the vote passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting yes. We will now reconvene our regular meeting and we will turn this over to Mr. Martinez.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, we have 3 ICC presentations for you tonight. We have Quartz High School, SOAR High School, and Eastside's ASB class. So first, we have Quartz High School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinets. As Mr. Martinez said, we are Quartz High School, and we are super excited to be joining you today and updating you on what's been going on our campus for the last semester.
Good evening. My name is Antoinette Ferrer, and I'm a current Spirit Commissioner as well as Junior Class Treasurer. For one of our events, we have done Hearts of Quartz Hill, which is when members of ASB cut out and decorate heart-shaped pieces of paper and put each name of each student on campus to put on their classroom doors. The purpose of this event was to spread love all around school in spirit of Valentine's Day each year, with the outcome always being joyful among our school, promoting love towards themselves and each other. Good evening. My name is Haley Obregon, and I am a Kindness Commissioner at Quartz Hill. So one of the events that we recently did in early March was called Trash for Math. The purpose of this was basically to bring a more community-based activity opportunity for the students. So what we did was basically reached out to math teachers and got their approval, and they gave us the okay to give extra credit if students were to give their time after school and pick up some trash. And the outcome was really great and successful. We got about 50 students just by promoting it for just about a week on social media. And this is our social media post and a couple of pictures we took of the students.
Good evening. My name is Elias Salcedo, and I'm one of the Special Education Commissioners at Quartz Hill. I'll be talking to you guys about two events tonight. The first of which was our prom, which was on April 2nd and was at the California Science Center. At the Science Center, we had several exhibits open, and the main dance area was held in the same room, was held in the shuttle room. The second event was our Special Education prom, which is set for May 26th, and it's gonna be held in our small gym. That's gonna have, it's just gonna be a fun, cute event for all of the kids.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Board and Cabinet. My name is Allison Sievers. I'm an Assembly Commissioner at Quartz Hill. Recently, we hosted our annual Winter Assembly on campus. Our event, we had 3 separate assemblies during third period. Each assembly showcased our winter sports and performing teams. We had games for our captains and even our knocker balls. We had an inflatable polar bear costume, and our assembly was very successful in creating a positive atmosphere on our campus.
Good evening once again. To introduce myself, my name is Colin Culver and I serve as Quartz Hill's ASB Vice President, where I run the club program on our campus. Our third and final club event of the year, our car show, is coming up on May 20th. Not only will we have about 40 to 50 clubs out there selling items, food, as well as game entry for whatever they want to sell to raise money for their clubs. We'll also have around hopefully 30 cars out there to view, which will also be engaged in a competition to find the best car in one of 6 categories. Participants that are students or staff are allowed to enter their cars in either the street dirt bike category, dirtiest car, off-road trucks, vintage/lowriders, muscle cars, and everybody's favorite category, the mom and dad cars. If you're interested in attending, it is on May 20th at 11:45 a.m. during our 1-hour-long lunch on our JV practice field.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Board and Cabinet. I'm Camille Sevilla, serving as Quartz Hill's ASB President. And with the year coming to an end, we have a few events left, particularly for our seniors, one of which is grad night at Six Flags, where seniors will have access to the park after hours from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And our very last event for our seniors before graduation is our Senior Sunset, where we will have food trucks and a photo booth for seniors to create memories on campus for one last time as the chapter comes to an end. Thank you for your time. We are Quartz Hill.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate your presentation.
Up next, SOAR High School.
Good evening, Board and Cabinet. We are SOAR High School, and here's a look into our second semester.
Hello, I'm Hazel Oliva, and I currently serve as a Class of 2024 parliamentarian.
And I'm Emily Martinez. I'm Class of 2025 parliamentarian.
To start off, we would like to showcase the 2 biggest events since our last presentation, which is Dances and Spirit Week.
Like many other schools, we love to show our school spirit. Some activities that ended up being quite popular is our spring dance and winter ball. These events not only provided a way for students to have fun, but it provides them a way to support the classes within ASB that spend a lot of time hosting these dances. And along with every major event we have a Spirit Week to support and get ready for, so everyone can get ready for the big event. These promote a sense of pride and motivation that highlight the enthusiasm amongst the school.
Some of our most popular Spirit Days include Character Day and White Light Day, which can be seen on the right. These days are a great engagement to our community. We are a typically small school, so bringing in engagement and excitement is a very important aspect of SOAR's community. We are never failed to be amazed by the energy that are brought within these Spirit Weeks. Out of 240 out of our 400 students attended these events, and that's a pretty large number compared to our school amount of students to the other schools. And no matter what the size is of these events, we always make sure that we have the best of what we have.
One of the clubs at our school, SOAR High, is a all-female team dedicated to making a positive influence in our community and is part of the National Girls Build program. This year, the team is focusing on helping students in the areas of civic engagement, health and wellness, and college career preparation. We have been doing this through a series of workshops. We partnered with our school's Mental Health Awareness Club and AVC college professors to host an art therapy workshop, as well as hosting AVC political science professor to talk about the importance of voting. We also got 500 books donated to our school and gave them out during Club Rush. SOAR High School has also been putting out new merchandise. It can be found on our website and was even made available to the new students who will be coming in the upcoming school year.
Sorry, my phone turned on. Hello, I am Kevin Delgado, and I serve as the Spirits and Events Coordinator for the class of 2024. CASTLE, otherwise known as the California Association for Student Leaders, is a statewide conference hosted by student leaders for student leaders. It is ran through the CATA organization and is held every year. SOAR had the amazing opportunity of sending 13 of its own students, grades 9 through 11, to this Day 3 event. One of our very own stars, Maria Navarro, currently sits on the CASTLE board as a media director. She is pictured on the bottom right. At this event, we learned and brought back new valuable knowledge, such as the definition of foundational leadership, levels of foundation, and many, many new events we would love to bring to the table next year. The council members who attended are very grateful for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and SOAR hopes to attend next year.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Earl, and I currently serve as the Class of 22 Fundraising Coordinator.
My name is Valerie Monzano, and I serve as the board parliamentarian.
Our two biggest events that we typically hold throughout our school year are our carnival and our pep rally. Our pep rally, as pictured on the left, is different from other schools in the fact that all the classes go against one another, competing with our chants or our spirit battles. This year, we were actually able to have our own astronaut, honoring the astronaut as our mascot. And currently, we're actually planning our carnival, which this year is being centered around the theme of music festivals. This features rides such as dunk tanks and inflatables.
We also next weekend have our prom coming up, where the theme is The Great Gatsby. It's held at the Dream Palace in Glendale. We also have our grad night for our seniors coming up, which is to Disneyland. And these tickets were actually cheaper than normal Disneyland tickets. So that was pretty awesome for all of us. We even have our SOAR mural pictured that the seniors came together and made for our students. It says, "Don't fly, soar."
This year, we also tried out a new event. This is called Club Rush Part 2. This event serves as a sequel to our inaugural Club Rush that we hold at the beginning of the fall semester. This event served as an opportunity to the new clubs that came up during the year to advertise to the students, and also gave students an opportunity to run for office before the upcoming semester. We had a large amount of participants, as well as upperclassmen attending and signing up for classes.
Good evening, I'm Marcia Rivera, the ASB Board Public Relations and Historian. Our school also participated in the Black Knowledge Bowl. We had 4 students participating, and they participated in both the first and the final level. They placed 3rd in the first round, and we're very proud of them.
We also would like to say congratulations to the students pictured above, as they were Dell Scholars recipients, which entails a $20,000 scholarship to whichever college they choose, as well as a laptop that will last them up to 4 years, and other supplies such as financial resources or mental health resources.
We also want to do a huge acknowledgement to our new principal, Miss Wendy Johnston. She's helped the transition into our next semester, absolutely amazing. And we just love how she greets all of us every morning as we walk into our doors. And always remember to dream high and soar higher. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SOAR High School. And last but not least, Eastside ASB.
Good evening, Board and Cabinet. This is Eastside ICC's presentation. All right, to start, hello, my name is Annalisa, and I'm Eastside ASB's president, and I'm here to talk about one of the many HOSA leadership conferences. All right, to start, we have Crystal Chavez we want to highlight on the far left with the glasses. So what she had to do was read 5 different books chosen by the HOSA Club based upon medical reading. And on top of that, the HOSA Club had to take a test which consisted of a multiple choice question test and an essay. The top half of the students who passed were invited to the Long Beach conference. And in the Long Beach conference is where Crystal found out that she placed second. So on June 24th, 21st to 25th, Crystal Chavez will be representing California at the ILC competition in Nashville. And in this picture right here, we have Crystal Chavez, Rebecca Montalto, Miss Coffee, Catherine Glendale, and I think Zoe DePaz was not there because she was not able to make it.
Hello, my name is Nyla. I'm ASB secretary, and I'm going to talk about the Black Knowledge Bowl. Some of our students also participated, and it's basically just a quiz on Black history, Black knowledge, and how much the kids are able to learn about it. So our group was easily able to pass their preliminary rounds and get into the finals, and they received lots of support and lots of aid from our admin and our community. During the last few rounds, they were bumped into 4th place, but they waged everything that they had, all of their points, and they got up to 2nd place. And they studied super hard during class time, or even when they had free time, like during spring break. And our team consisted of Leilani, Ross, Crystal, and Cortland.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rebecca Montalto, and I'm ASB's 5th officer. So what I'm going to talk to you guys today about is our band's achievement at their Hawaii trip. Our band is under the direction of Tom Hickson. And for reference, this is our band's first time going to a competition out of state. We had about 68 band members go. They placed first in all their competitions, as you can see in the picture on the top right. And then they carried themselves so well that the board of directors at the competition had invited them to a rooftop dinner.
Hello guys, my name is Amir Bey. I'm Eastside's ASB treasurer, and I will be discussing SPED prom. So on Tuesday, April 5th, we invited all of our special needs classes to our wrestling room and during our 4th period, and we basically just threw a prom for them. There were plenty of small activities, and I was able to ask our long-term SPED teacher, Mr. Smith, about how he generally feels about the SPED prom, and he said that he really enjoys it. The kids have a great time every year, and he just loves how we're able to, or how it makes them feel very a part of Eastside culture. And it's personally one of my favorite events because it really feeds into that ASB motto of making school for everybody. And if we're able, the gen ed students are able to have a prom, then they should be allowed to have one as well.
Adjusted a little bit. Good evening. My name is Jasmine Quiros, and I am Eastside ASB's vice president. And today I'll be talking about Eastside's campus culture, mainly the Baile Primavera that we hosted earlier this month. And basically what a baile is just a Hispanic dance. And for this event, we had approximately 200 people attend. We also had food trucks and a live band. And not to mention, one of the live band members was an Eastside alumni. After the event, we actually went around and asked a couple of students how they felt about bringing this type of cultured event to Eastside, and that they said they really appreciated the incorporation of the Latino culture, especially since most of our students are predominantly Hispanic or come from Hispanic culture or background. And doing this just really allows for us to give the students new experiences and to connect with different students, even if they are from different backgrounds, which really feeds into our Eastside campus culture, just trying to provide an experience for everybody to enjoy, no matter where they come from or who they are. And we have a little video, but I'm not sure if it'll play. Yeah, we've formed our own conga line. Thank you. This concludes our presentation.
I'd like to thank all of our students for coming this evening. It's always a pleasure to see what you have to present and see what's happening on your campuses. Thank you so much. So we are moving on to 6C, presentation on SOAR High School, South Valley.
Mr. Neal's going to give an update on the progress of transitioning a new campus connected with ABC South Valley.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're going to have to time our exits from our seats to get up here where there's no dead time. So it's great to be.
Jogging, you know.
Exactly, yeah. I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about, it'll be a brief presentation on what we are currently referring to as SOAR High School South Valley. That's kind of just the working name at this point. We know that at some point, we'd love to have some stakeholders and especially some students be part of the naming of that school. So if you can remember, we've had discussions about transitioning Palmdale Prep Academy, that campus into an alternative different program over the number of months. And I know that talking with Mr. Berryman, who's the principal of Antelope Valley, the Academies of the Antelope Valley, we wanted to make sure that we were committed to finding a home for those 7th graders at Palmdale Prep. And of the 26 7th graders, I think there were a handful that decided to go to their neighborhood school, but the remaining 20 or so pretty equally decided to be at SOAR Prep or at night prep. So we've made accommodations, and all of our 7th graders who wanted to attend a prep academy, we were able to get in. So we've been looking at the SOAR, that campus to look at that as the SOAR High School South Valley. And continuing the partnership with Antelope Valley College and working with their Palmdale Center, looking at providing a SOAR campus, a satellite campus in the South Valley. And so I know that the SOAR students identified and recognized their principal, Wendy Johnson. I know Wendy is here somewhere, or she went out. I don't know if you had a chance to meet her. She's extremely enthusiastic about starting that campus. And so we've been working with her over the last couple of months to look at what type of staff we would need to start that school with a freshman class next school year. So while it may look kind of front heavy, that's okay, because we know that those positions are going to be important. So we do want to have a site administrator, counselor, clerical support, custodial support, tech support as well. And so what we're looking at for that freshman class is bringing on to the SOAR staff an English teacher, math teacher, science, and then physical education for the freshman year. So those are these staff that we're looking at bringing on. Currently, there are 83 students that have already committed to SOAR South Valley. And we're hoping to have anywhere between 120 students, and we're really excited to see that we already have 83 students that have committed to that. So the students for the SOAR South Valley campus were identified by giving priority to the accepted 9th graders into SOAR who may find it more convenient to be in a South Valley location. They may live out in that area and would be given priority to attend that school. In addition, we had a number of students that were qualified, but because of limited space at the SOAR campus, those were the students that were also given the opportunity to have priority on that SOAR South Valley campus as well. And so as we're looking at establishing a schedule for our incoming freshmen for next year, this is the class offerings that we're going to be offering. Obviously, the vast majority of those courses are going to be held on that South Valley campus. At this point, the students will have a class on the Palmdale Center for ABC, and first semester it's usually library, second semester it's usually human development. I know that Ms. Johnson is working with the AV college staff on looking at transporting those students. It's very close, it's about 3/4 of a mile, but we do need to transport them to the Palmdale Center for their college class. And so again, looking at health over the summer, English 9 honors, conceptual physics, mathematics, and it could be algebra, it could be geometry, it could be algebra 2, depending on the level of students. Avid elective, because we know that SOAR is an avid school, and then physical education as well. So that's what a typical day would look like for the freshmen coming into that South Valley campus. And that really is it for me. Just wanted to give the board opportunity to ask any questions at this time.
Any questions? All right. You covered it so well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Moving forward, our next presentation is on SB 328 EC 46148, the late, oh, I should be talking you're talking slowly, the late start bell schedule. Mr. Hopkins, would you like to introduce?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Matt Anderson. He is our Director of Attendance and Enrollment, I'm sorry. And he's been working, we've had several working groups looking at this late start that we're required to do, and Mr. Anderson is here to give a presentation on that.
Well, good evening, board and cabinet. It's a pleasure to present tonight in our first meeting here in our new building. It's a beautiful building. So I want to give you an update to SB 328 and then the corresponding adjustment to Ed Code 46148. So we'll start off and just give a little background to what we're referring to here. For the first time now, we have a limit to when we can start our schools. So SB 328 revised the Ed Code to put in start times for middle and for high school public schools. So middle schools now need to start no earlier than 8 o'clock in the morning, and high schools have a limit of 8:30 in the morning. And this applies to public high schools and public middle schools. So this falls within what we offer in our district. And so we've been looking at making this adjustment based on this legislation that's going into effect, and it starts July 1, 2022. So this will go into effect and affect our summer schools. So our summer schools will start to reflect this 8:30 start time. And so we've known about this for the last couple of years with this start date being July 1 of this year. So we're prepared for the impact this is going to have when we start next school year. So when we look at the impacts of this early or this later start time, some have some challenges to it, and there's some positives to it. One of the things that we're seeing that is a positive is for the first time, our district comprehensive school sites are going to be able to have a universal bell schedule. What that means is all 8 of our comprehensive sites will begin at the same time and they'll end at the same time. And this provides for some programs that we can do that we haven't been able to do before because our schools have not been synced up. And so there are some programmatic things on the ed services side that we might be able to do with this, meaning a student at one school might be able to enroll and take a class at another campus that's offering a course because our sections and our times align. And so there's some creativity and some things that we can do with this universal bell schedule that are a benefit. Some challenges, one of them, and really the primary one to make this work, is our transportation. So we've been working with our partners at AVSTA, and really that's been the biggest challenge, is for AVSTA to make this late start work with the districts that they serve. And so to work with our feeder districts and us, that's been really the thing that's really, we've been making adjustments really up till today, trying to just continue to work to make this schedule as efficient as possible and be able to get our students to our campuses. It's that simple, and we'll look at that with the start time here in a second. Food services is another program that is going to be impacted by this. Joe Cook and his food services team are ready to go. The positives here is that we have more time in the morning, potentially to serve some breakfasts with the later start, and they're ready to go. And so our food services team are ready to meet that need. It's really where our activities and our athletics come into play that this is going to have the biggest impact. When we're starting in our high schools at 8:30, that means we're going to be releasing close to 4 o'clock. Well, the sun's going to go down. We all know that. You can't change that. And so when the sun goes down, that has the impact of affecting all of our activities outside. Outside of the stadium lights, this is going to have an impact. And we can't host everything in our soccer and our football stadiums just because the use on those fields. And so whether it's activities, band practice, or our sports practices, or our sports games, this is going to be one of the biggest challenges to this late start and late release time. Zero period classes, we can still offer zero period classes. So although we have to start later, we still have the ability per this legislation to offer zero period courses. And so we're still working through exactly what that means. as far as what kind of offerings and how many we can have, because there's some gray areas with this legislation, but we can offer 0 period, that's clear. In making sure that we can make it all work with getting our minimum instructional minutes for the year, and you can see on the presentation here, our comprehensive sites have a yearly minimum of 64,000 instructional minutes. Our alternative programs, the Desert Winds, RX Paris, they're at 32,400, and then our middle schools are at 54,000. To do this late start and be able to meet our minimums of our yearly instructional minutes, we're really gonna have to work to be creative. And so we've done some things, and one of the things we did was we reduced our final exams each semester from 3 days to 2 days. So now at the end of the first semester and second semester, we are looking at a schedule of 2 final exam days with 3 periods on each of those days, rather than 3 final exam days with 2 periods. So this is just some of the adjustments we've been making. And then staffing for next year, we know we're still going to have students that are going to need access to school, access to the school well before that 8:30 start time, whether that is being dropped off by their parents or needing to get to school. So we are looking at the staffing that we're going to need rolling into next year when we have this late start time. So those are some of the impacts that we've been looking at as we've been preparing. We put a committee together and we met 4 times. And you see those dates there. The last one we met at the end of February. And the committee that we put together had representation from all the school sites and all the programs. We had representation from CSEA and AVTA and the district office. And we put our heads together and we tried to think through all of the impacts and all the programs that would be in play as we move our bell schedule later in the day. And those are the dates we met. And ultimately, we're able to come up with a bell schedule that kept as much of what we've done prior rolling into this next school year. So one of the things that we were considering is, will we still be able to have a flex day schedule? Because flex days are very important when it comes to teachers being able to collaborate and meet. When we have our WASC findings, WASC is always commenting that they appreciate that we have time built in to our schedule that allows teachers to be able to collaborate. So we kind of kicked all those things around and we came up with some bell schedules. And so I've presented a couple before you here. And so what you're looking at now is the proposed comprehensive site bell schedules. And so where high schools can start at 8:30, the thing that will jump out to you probably at first is our first period right now is sitting at 8:45, not at 8:30. And this is again for our comprehensive sites. So these are the 8 sites that would be starting at 8:45. The reason why we're starting at 8:45 is simply the busing. To make it work with AVSTA, to be able to work with the feeder districts and us, they're at this point needing to drop our students off around 8:30, which means we're looking at about an 8:45 start time. Well, that puts us right now at a 3:40 release time on a regular day. Much later than we've ever had. And that's what we're working to kind of make sure we can still do all the things that our students need to do. You'll see that we're able to keep a flex day. It's nothing like the traditional flex days that we have. You're looking at a 2:45 release there, and then you'll see an example of those final exams there, reflective of 2 each semester, not the 3. But you'll see the 3 periods each day. So that's a look at our comprehensive site proposed schedule. Here's a look at Desert Winds and RX Paris. You've got your regular day, and we do have a flex day in those programs. And that would be, again, an 8:30 start time for these programs because there is not the busing component to Desert Winds and Rex Paris. So where we can, we're going to start it at 8:30. And so in these programs, we're able to start these at 8:30. And you can see the release time there on a normal day would be 3:32 and 3:10 for a flex day. And that's for our alternative programs. For smaller sites, Desert Wind or Desert Pathways and Phoenix, we're still working with AVSTA to see exactly how those are going to look. Those are very small sites that we'll work through the details on that. SOAR High School's got a different schedule. You'll see it reflected here. Again, with that 8:30 start time, there's no busing component to SOAR. And so we're able to start that at 8:30. And on a normal day, Monday through Thursday, they are done at 3:35. Their Friday schedule You can see there has a 2:35 release time. They have some stuff built in there on Friday. And then our middle schools, our prep programs. You'll see again there a regular day schedule, a flex day schedule, and the minimum day schedule. They are starting at 8. There is no busing component with our 2 prep programs, and so they're able to start at 8 o'clock with a 2:23 release and then a flex day release of 1:10 in the afternoon. And again, they would be on that same final exam kind of schedule that our comprehensive sites are at. And those are the proposed schedules for the programs that we're offering based on this adjustment to this new legislation. So at this point, if you guys have any questions for me.
Any questions?
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate the presentation.
Yep.
Thank you. Moving on to 6E, we are at the school deputy program. Mr. Neal, you will introduce.
So Christina Ronalds is going to present to you. Christina is our Director of Personnel and Human Resources. Christina is going to present to you some information regarding our School Resource Officer Program.
Good evening, Board and Cabinet. Thank you for the opportunity to share tonight the district's partnership with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. In just a moment. So as you're all aware, our district's mission statement starts off right out of the gates with our commitment to provide a safe and secure learning environment for all students. And we all have a responsibility in that. It's evidenced by our See Something, Say Something campaign that we can all take part in ensuring the safety of our campuses. But the district has a tiered team that really focuses in on safe and secure environments at our school sites. So through our partnership with the Sheriff's Department, we have a team that's led by Sergeant Steve Madden. Unfortunately, he's unable to make it here today, but doing the day-to-day work, we have our team leader, Deputy Justin Rupert, who is here to say hello tonight to everyone. Justin was a former school resource officer, so has been on our campuses and worked with most of our schools for quite some time now. So we're excited to have Justin here. He leads a team of 9 school resource officers stationed at the 8 comprehensive sites, and then 1 officer dedicated to our smaller school campuses. Our school team consists of our directors of school site safety. We have 4 here tonight, so I'll introduce them. Mr. James Diaz at Knight High School. We have Therian Thompson in the back corner from Highland High School. Ryan Bouchart from Little Rock High School, and Chris Niemeyer from Quartz Hill High School. And there's 9 of our directors of school site safety. On their teams, they have a campus supervisor 1, who's a lead position on their teams. And then we have 85 campus supervisors spread out throughout the district schools. So one of my roles and my position is to work with these fine gentlemen on a regular basis to ensure the safety at each of our campuses. So our partnership with LASD is longstanding. The district has had a relationship with the Lancaster Station for many years. And we really believe that the role of our school resource officers is critical to the success of not only our schools, but our community. So those deputies really forge a relationship with students that can last beyond our campuses and into our community, and hopefully reflect positive relationships between deputies and students and families alike. Some of their roles and responsibilities are to, again, create strong relationships with both students and staff, to model the importance of a community and policing relationship, to assist families with law enforcement issues. They work hand in hand with our directors of school site safety in their approach to school safety on their campus, whether it's drills that they're doing, providing feedback on drills and ways that we can ensure safer schools. They act as a direct connection to emergency responses, whether those are health crises on our campus or threats to the campus. They serve as a direct connection to suspected child abuse. They assist our team in conducting threat assessments and reported faculty concerns. And they go into our classrooms and talk to kids about becoming a deputy. And so you're going to see a couple pictures here tonight. And I have just a few stories that I'll highlight, not all the pictures, but in one of them, we have Deputy Nurse, who's a new deputy over at AV High School. And I have to say that Deputy Nurse was a campus supervisor for me when I was at Palmdale. So pretty great to see him have served our district in the role as campus supervisor and then come back now as a deputy. Down here in the bottom corner, you'll see Deputy Tellez, who's hanging out with a team from Turkey at the robotics tournament that happened recently. The Lancaster deputy, Van Arsdale, Dr. Tepper reports he makes videos with kids, some of which have gone viral. He jumpstarts students' cars, celebrates birthdays, and mentors young people and their families to really bring about some positive change in some challenging situations. You'll see over here in the top right corner is Deputy Prather, who is our alternative schools deputy. He's playing basketball with a student from Desert Pathways. He's also enjoys a quick game of Uno when the students are out at lunch. And then finally tonight, I want to highlight Deputy Ruiz. His picture's a little blurry there. It's the center row, the first one. He's throwing a football across Quartz Hills campus. But Deputy Ruiz, earlier in the year, there was a student health emergency, and he noticed the signs and symptoms that the student was displaying and immediately administered Narcan and was able to truly save that student's life in that situation. It really brought to light the need for Narcan on all of our school sites. So now we have that available, and our staff is trained to administer that in the unfortunate situation that it's needed. So just a few examples of our work that our deputies are doing. As far as our relationship with the Sheriff's Department, our contract right now is a one-year contract. The Board of Supervisors wanted to consider data related to that contract. So recently, Marissa Russling and I met with the Los Angeles County Health Division, the Youth Diversion and Development, provided some data that they were interested in related to our school resource program, but also the additional social emotional supports that we have available throughout our district. And we anticipate that the contract will come back for consideration from the Board of Supervisors in the coming months. And with that, thank you for the time this evening. Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions from the board? Thank you very much. So Ms. Nguyen is not here this evening, so we will move right on past F and go to G, AVSTA. Ms. Rockins?
Just real quickly, as Mr. Anderson alluded to, they are working diligently trying to map out the routes for next year and to accommodate all of the school districts that they support. And so they've been working on that, and they're trying to get additional drivers as well.
Thank you. We are moving on to H from AVTA, Mr. Shy, or it looks like Mr. Stockdale. Thank you. Mr. Stockdale, come on down.
No joke, it really is much more of a walk up here now. But it's an honor to be here presenting or speaking. I guess I'm not really presenting on anything in the new building. It's a beautiful building. Nice to be here. Thought I'd start out with some good news. I wasn't sure if the news trickled up, but so I wanted to make sure that I was able to share that. The former student board member, Mr. Eli Johnson, he graduated early this year. After the first semester in December, he completed his first semester of college up at BYU in Utah, and then just kind of on a whim, he's been very happy up at his first university, but he thought, you know, I'll apply, we always encourage our kids to go for that reach school. So he thought, why not? I'll go for that reach school. Eli Johnson received word that he was accepted into Yale University. And so we thought that that was something that was pretty awesome. In meeting with Eli, talking to him about that, he's one that I still have contact with. He shared that some of the things that directly related, he was a part of this board during some difficult times. And so that was part of his college applications, was the question of what are some things that you've had to deal with in terms of adversity and opposition and trials. And so he was able to write about some of his time in navigating some of the tumultuous times with this board over his stewardship as the student board member. So as difficult as it may have been, it all came out good in the end for him. So we were very excited to see his success. All of the staff that contribute to that. It's not one school or one program, Eli working with ICC and representing all of the schools, being part of an academy that obviously I have a lot of bias in that academy that I'm involved with, but also being part of, ASB. He was part of our independent study program in graduating early and being able to bump up his schedule to accomplish all those things. So I thought that was pretty awesome and something worth sharing. Other things with AVTA, negotiations have been going on. They've been going well from our perspective. We appreciate the efforts on the part of the district in, meeting, in considering ideas and looking at things. We feel like that there's been a lot of progress made. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done in that regard. Everyone involved in that process knows it's not something that happens overnight. And better to take the time to get it right than to rush something just to have a solution anyways. And so we just wanted to relay our appreciation in all of those efforts on the part of the district, feeling that, that progress is looking really good from our perspective. Also recognizing that we have an appreciation for the relationship that exists between the leadership within the district and AVTA in general. The fact that we're able to come to the table together and talk, even be able to crack some jokes and share some stories and things like that. As I've become more involved with AVTA over the years, and my experience, at least as an employee, has only been within this district, and so I kind of made some assumptions that were false. As I've gotten to know other districts, I just thought all of them work this way. And all of the relationships between the district administration and union is congenial to a certain extent. And I have learned that that was vastly mistaken. There are many districts that do not operate in that way at all. And so we really appreciate that. Although we may not always see eye to eye, and although we may have differences of opinions on things, that we're able to talk about it and that it's not an adversarial thing. As certificated employees represented by AVTA, there has been plenty of things to struggle with this year. Coming back from the time at home from COVID, this has been, and I know I speak for a huge percentage of certificated employees in saying that this has been one of the most difficult years in education for everybody involved. And so to be able to come to the table and discuss that and look at ways that we can make that better is something that we appreciate. And so we look forward to wrapping up this year and kind of putting this one in the book, so to speak, looking at the lessons learned and the things that we can apply as we update some of that contract language and look at, shifting and tweaking compensation and some of those things. But we really just wanted to report back to the board to say that things are progressing and that we feel like we will get there soon. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stockdale. From CSEA, Ms. Karen White.
Good afternoon. Well, this is quite a place. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Vice President Ms. McGrady, Board Cabinet, Board members, Mr. Martinez, Ms. Menian, Mr. Furno, Ms. Orozco. So this is a very nice facility, an overdue facility for our district, and a new boardroom that will actually hold some people. And I believe that this is a very momentous evening, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Oh, man. It's a big room.
Yes, but my voice usually really carries too.
Thank you. That's better. Thank you.
We're quickly approaching our last month of school.
And the end of year festivities are going to be rapidly approaching too. Even though August, it looked like at the beginning of a year that was going to be really long, it seemed to have picked up speed. And now it's almost over. There have been changes. There's been trials and tribulations. There's been farewells to employees that have retired. We've embraced and welcomed new faces to our district. And sad occasions with the loss of too many of our teachers, our classified and previous employees who have graced our doors. At times, rough seas with COVID and other obstacles that we've confronted, but we haven't given in to those. We've kept a positive and a can-do attitude. And now here we are. So I stand before you this evening as we present to you 2 MOUs and our chapter Sunshine proposal for the negotiations and your consideration. Our membership has approved these proposals and these 3 documents, and they feel that they address issues and concerns that are of importance for both the district and our members. And we hope that you'll take the next step in approving them at this level. Now I'm going to go down that whimsical rabbit hole. And hopefully I won't meet up with the Mad Hatter or Alice as I dive into a very undesirable topic. The subject I hope you'll take to heart. Just to review some of the events. CSEA has a class action lawsuit against several school districts, which includes the Antelope Valley Union High School District. This deals with the legal holiday for June 19th, or commonly referred to as Juneteenth. Our contract reads in Article 9.1 for additional holidays, and I quote, "Every day declared by the president or governor of the state as a public fast, mourning, Thanksgiving, or holiday, or any date declared a holiday for classified unit members by the governing board shall be a holiday for all unit members in the bargaining unit." Last year, the district moved our celebration of this day to Monday, June the 21st, since it was impossible to inform and make arrangements to be off on Friday, June 18th, and which we commend you for. However, when classified holiday schedule came out, Juneteenth wasn't listed. It wasn't recognized. There seemed to be a problem on how some interpreted the language and whether or not the President of the United States intended this holiday to continue to future years. CSEA is adamant that this day will continue with each year, just as we celebrate Martin Luther King's Day every year. Since the district decided to wait and see what legal decision would emerge from the courtrooms, our chapter requested to be included in CSEA's class action lawsuit. I would hope that you would reconsider and comply with our contractual language, which would accept Juneteenth as a holiday and add it to the existing classified holidays list. If you hold up our contractual language, I will be ecstatic, as well as a few others. And our contract, I will contact the CSE legal department and request that the Antelope Valley Union High School District be removed from this pending litigation. We know that this battle has not quite yet begun. I would rather we not be included. So on a more positive note, we want to extend our well wishes to the Palmdale High School SOAR Falcon race team. We know that they are busy preparing their cars to embark on this trip to Fort Worth, Texas for the Solar Car Challenge in July.
And we know how excited they are to go to this challenge since COVID-19 closed that event in 2020. And even with the event being held last year, we weren't able to send any of those teams. So we wish you the best. We hope you have a wonderful experience there, no matter what, and enjoy the adventure. And a big thank you to those chaperones that will be traveling with them. Have a good week. Thank you for your attention. Good evening.
Thank you. As we move forward on the agenda, our next item is J, public comments from the floor for agendized items. Ms. Orozco, do we have any? Okay. Oh. Okay, let me go ahead and read this then. The public is invited to address the board on any agenda item. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and the total time for public input on each item shall be limited to 20 minutes. During public comments, the board listens to concerns issues. The board may ask questions for purposes of clarification. The law prohibits the board from entering into a dialogue with the public or taking action on items not on the agenda. And so you said we have, I'm sorry, you said 9?
Yes, we have 9 on item 6E and 1 on item 10E.
Okay.
First speaker, Diane Padilla. Diane Padilla. Okay, we have next speaker, Cassie. Cassie. Carrie. That's Miss Padilla. Diana Padilla.
Hi, good evening. My name is Diana Padilla Garcia, and I am a parent of children at Highland High School. I wanted to inquire about AB 328, which was the late start. I did hear the presentation about that steering committee, which did not include parents. So it is way too often seen that you guys take decisions and include everybody at the table, but don't include the parents, which is your most important people. We are the parents of the students you are supposed to be serving. So also in regards to the transportation department, I have a son who's special needs, and we continue to have issues with transportation. And it's also ridiculous that you guys are basing off the schedule solely on transportation. So it just doesn't make sense that they're already failing us and you leave everything, this new schedule based on them and their recommendations. So it just doesn't make sense. Now, in regards to the SROs, I have to remind you that I was that parent that was asked to be removed from my son's campus back in October, just because I'm asking questions, which I have the right to. My son had been having problems, and I fear that if this is the way you treat parents, I can't imagine the risks he's going through every single day if he has any type of outburst, which he has, and they are aggressive. and the teachers or staff will rely on SROs to control him. So I really do want to revisit that
30 seconds.
and see why you guys are not talking to us parents about this. And I did file that UCP in regards to Highland High School, so and their safety plan, which they didn't talk to us parents. So we'll see what the outcome of that is soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cassie? Sophia Derfler?
Good evening. My name is Sophia Derfler, and I'm a local student, high school student. Last fall, Cancel the Contract facilitated a demonstration/protest in support of Michaela Robinson in front of Lancaster High School. Because of the video of Michaela being body slammed by a school resource officer had gone viral, the media was present. A local student saw the TV coverage and realized the SRO who had harmed Michaela was the same one whom he had also had a problematic encounter. The young man yelled to his mother, and though she was preparing for work, she jumped into the car to make her way to Lancaster High to share her story with the media. Previously, during a morning check-in at Lancaster High School, the school resource officer pulled her son aside because he suspected him of having marijuana on his person. The SRO proceeded to pat the student down, and during this, touched the student inappropriately on his backside. The young man asked the SRO to stop, and he called his mother immediately to put her on speaker. His mother reiterated for the officer to stop and keep her son there. She was on her way. When the parent arrived, she met with her son, the principal, and the SRO. The SRO stated that he smelled marijuana on the student. The mother stood up and walked to her son and made a point of smelling him on the left and right sides of his body. She then stated unequivocally that her son had not been smoking marijuana. She knew what it smelled like because she was in fact a substance abuse counselor. The SRO proceeded to tell her that he could put his hands on her son anytime he wanted to, and there was nothing she could do about it. The young man elected to go on to independent study that day. Board members, you are not a mentor if your actions are driving kids from school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Carrie?
Hi, my name is Carrie Agomo. I'm one of the student activists for Cancel the Contract. I'm here to speak on behalf of students in the Antelope Valley for the primary purpose of making it absolutely clear that we, the students in the AV, are being failed. We lack resources, funding in the right places, adequate support, a diverse administration, a safe environment, and above all, care. A safe school environment cannot be created when our district is working hand in hand with the very people harming our students. SROs and policies dictating their presence in our schools present a false dichotomy of safety. We see the creation of two narratives concerning student safety. The first, SROs keep students safe. The second, SROs keep schools safe from students. We'll return to the first premise later, but we'll start with the second. That SROs keep schools safe from students. That students, the children and teenagers within our district are such a danger, such a threat to school safety that they necessitate a constant police presence within our district. We are not oblivious to the fact that conflict exists on school campuses. The criminalization of the existence of our students is not the answer. We're also not oblivious to which of our students that SROs consider to pose the greater threat to school safety, which is demonstrated by their disproportionate contact with and the abuse of our students of color. I should say then, instead, that the criminalization of our Black and Brown students is not the answer, but is in fact the issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maddie?
Good evening. My name is Madison Myers. I'm currently a senior in the district. Picking up where Carrie left off, let's go back to the first premise that SROs protect students, which, as we can see, is not the case. I'd like to highlight for the board a recent study by Emily Weisburst, which determined that funding school police results in a significantly lower high school graduation rate and lower college enrollment rates. The study found at 2.5% and 4% respectively. So to put that into perspective, with the number of students in our district, that would be 575 students who would fail to graduate from high school and 920 students who failed to pursue higher education as the result of police presence on campus. Students of color are not collateral damage, and we cannot allow them to be treated as such. Conversely, every study shows that increased counselors on campus leads to improved student outcomes, including higher high school graduation rates, higher college enrollment rates, improved mental health. And yet, so many students in our district do not have access to these resources. I've heard several statements from my peers across several campuses over the past several days that they do not feel adequately supported by either their counselors or by their administration, that none of them are accessible, that a lot of seniors here do not feel supported in their pursuits of college degrees and higher education, that they don't feel that they're being heard by either their administration or their counselors or their teachers, and definitely not by SROs. Students, especially our students of color, need these resources. They need a supportive and understanding and diverse administration. And once again, and above all, care. Today, we are here to call for the district to reinvest money from SROs who've done nothing but harm our students into services that will instead support them in order for students to have the care that they need. I'd like to close with a statement by the recently retired Nancy Speaks, who is a former counselor who worked at several schools in our district. Students of color need to see people who look like them, who understand the traumas that students of color face. There's not a lot of understanding of the trauma that those students experience. SROs are used to working with criminals, and our students are not criminals.
30 seconds.
Some of our students are being treated like criminals, especially our students of color. If administration and teachers were properly trained to work with a student instead of being reactive, then in all cases, a campus without police is better than a campus with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christian Green. Jay, we have two more speakers.
It was just two more.
Is it too late or not?
We got time, right?
We'll ask the board when we get to 20 minutes.
Not a problem. Thank you. Good evening. I'm ready. Y'all ready? Cool. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations on your new facility. This is a beautiful facility. I hope that this did not come from the $7 million that was misallocated. Again, my name is Christian Green, here with Council of Contract. What I want to present you all with is a policy report that we completed for you all. Would love to, I'll email it to you as well, Ms. Chandler, to the board members, to you too, Greg. It just deals with care and not cops. This is a huge movement that's been placing all over the nation. It would be an amazing benefit for Antelope Valley Unified School District to hop on board and to see like how it would be such an amazing sense of care for our students. Just as Maddie just stated, like it's a huge benefit for the students to see people that look like them in these positions of power, but also not just as SROs or security, but as principals, as assistant principals and these teachers. And what we were talking about is alternatives to school policing. So just real quick, improve classroom teaching and support, increase the number of school counselors, emotional learning supports, enhance health services, wraparound services, inclusive school environments. I see our principals are here. I see some other folks that are here. It would be amazing to understand that it's like, we're not working against you all. We're trying to work together, right? But we're also coming from a scholastic, academic type of point of view. So this just is not, stuff pulled up out of nowhere, but these are actually statistics, research, academic reports, we are working with one of the leading criminologists of the nation. And so this will be a great benefit to you all if you really think about it, of what we can really do for our kids, but also for our teachers. You know, I would love for our classified school employees, Ms. Karen White, while she's up here fighting for Juneteenth, to also meet with us as well. It's good to talk about it, the lip service, but I also want to see some action too. And so when we're talking about community schools, we're talking about restorative justice, we're talking about after-school programs. Yes, there is this illusion that school shootings are like the number one cause of why we have SROs, when in fact it's not the case. I mean, we could look at Highland. I know we've talked about it, Ms. McGrady, Mr. Rush, about school shootings and how like what happened at Highland. And come to find out, the guy that was at Highland ended up calling another police officer that picked him up at, I think it was like, what was it, Rite Aid, or what was it, Bonds up the street, right? And so it's nothing that the officers are doing on campus to really be productive or promote this sense of security. So what I really want to do is just give this to you all, if that's okay today. For the board members, I'll have our students give that to you. But just think about on a national scale, California scale, but also on a local scale, and how you all can be innovative in just realizing that there's so much that we can do with just 1.7 million, 7 million, 10 million, whatever. You have one of the largest amount of school funding, and we would love to just help you out in allocating those resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Raquel Durfler, excuse me.
Good evening, board. Yes, I am Raquel Durfler. I am with Cancel the Contract. I am actually chair of our education work group that deals with care of students in our schools. So the district strives to convince the community that its school deputy program is beneficial to the students. As we saw, we had that lovely presentation. They played football, they played chess, they're mentors. Yes, but in a September 2021 meeting that we had that included Brett Neal, Chandalyn Williams, and Jill McGrady, Mr. Neal let us know that he did not see a scenario in which a school resource officer would be involved in a student discipline situation unless it had risen to the level of the student throwing a desk in the classroom. We have uncovered multiple instances where this narrative has been upended. Some school sites allow the school resource officer to be present while the staff member running the student support center questions the student about their behavior. One of the most publicized examples is the case of Lancaster High student, Michaela Robinson. She is the 16-year-old who was body slammed by the school resource officer for the crime of not giving her cell phone to him when he asked, and she walked away. She was body slammed in full view of administration. The deputy pinned her down and straddled her for more than 30 seconds. The reason that this was bad is that the administration was there. She's a special needs student, so there never should have been interaction with that school resource officer. So what happened is when Michaela came back for a single day of in-person instruction, that same resource officer taunted her. She went to independent study. So the board stresses that they keep police on campus because they want the students to be safe. I'm here to say that students are not safe when you have mentors like that are placing their hands on the children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hal Steinberg.
Thank you, board members. So I would like to talk today about school safety as well and what that actually looks like on a campus. So once again, echoing my partners in Cancel the Contract, we talk a lot about school safety in this district, and not just this district, across the country, right? We want our students to be safe. These are children who are due respect in a school environment. Their parents expect them to come to school and to learn, not to face violence. And I think we can all agree that that's something that we want to have happen on our campuses. We also talk a lot about social emotional learning, correct? We want to build communities that are communities on our campus, right? We know that campuses are more than just what happens in a classroom. They are the sports activities on campus, the clubs on campus, all the things that make up a campus, including the classified staff on a campus, are very much part of a campus community. So there's lots of different types of people on campus. But one of the things that we're seeing a lot recently is a culture of impunity that also is occurring on these campuses. There have been multiple instances of students who have come to us who have talked about that they have been told by deputies that they could change the future trajectory of their lives if they don't shape up, including to the point of being told to keep quiet about interactions. That is something that is completely unacceptable on any campus. It cannot make a community. If people, students, staff, or anyone else in the school environment is afraid to come forward because of the relationships that they might have in the community, the relationships that they might have with other students on campus, the relationships they might have with their teachers, it's impossible to learn. That's the whole purpose of social emotional learning. And while we may not all agree on what a proper emotional basis is, we could at least agree that in a classroom, you have to be able to debate, you have to be able to talk about issues. And if you're so afraid to talk about those issues because the person with the gun on your campus is telling you to be quiet, that is not a school community. So I would just urge you to deeply think about not only the episodes that make the news, but the behind the scenes that's happening on a daily basis. And I'm not accusing anyone in particular. I'm just saying there's a culture that exists when you have people who have power and they are afraid to lose that power. So think about that, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Baron Gardner.
Good evening, folks. My question is, my goodness. My question is, what funds would be used? Because, or will the S&C funds be used to pay for the sheriff contract? Because as we know, those funds are designated for targeted high needs groups beyond the basic and general needs of the classroom. Those funds are supposed to benefit them like exclusively. And I think that's a concern. I also think it's very important to note that even though all the lovely pictures in the presentation that we just saw, we cannot divorce that from the fact that, you know, our local cops are under federal monitoring by the Department of Justice and consistently out of compliance with the mandates of the federal government. I can't teach without a credential, but our local sheriffs are out of compliance with the federal government. So I think that's a concern. We also know that from the semi-annual reports that that African Americans are targeted by the local sheriffs, that they're the least likely to have contraband, but the most likely to be pulled over and the most likely to be in prison. So, I mean, I think these are very important things to consider and to look at. The gang problem within the sheriff's department, all of these things are very important and concerning. The, what was this dude's name? Whistleblower, Reynoso from the local sheriffs talking about, deputies have a practice of what they call hunting that, targets, targeting and harassing African Americans. This is all, public knowledge. And even though the pictures are beautiful and, I guess those events actually did happen, but these things are actually happening as well. And we can't just lean on one side of it and not talk about the entire picture.
Thank you.
Mrs. McGrady, we have 2 speakers left and we have 39 seconds remaining.
So board, what would you like to do?
Let them speak. I agree to let them speak. That's only 2.
Okay.
Just to be clear, this is on item 6E.
Okay, and we'll keep it's still at 3 minutes each. But
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Mercury.
Hello, I'm Mercury with the Freedom Art Squad. Today I'm going to be talking about school shootings. So mass school shootings have been a major justification for the expansion and maintenance of school policing. The Columbine school shooting in suburban Denver in 1999 played a key role in expanding school policing. What few know, however, were that there were armed school police on the campus when that school began. Over the last 12 years, 70 students have been fatally shot in the school building, or about 6 per year, and most of these occurred in only 5 incidents. While this is a terrible toll, it means that the chance of a young person being killed in school is about 1 in 10 million. It's a terrible mistake to make an entire security apparatus around this school policing First, school policing is not proven successful at preventing these shootings, and second, subjects to them to humiliation, harassment, and sexual assaults that instill fear. The majority of school shootings are committed by current and former students. Non-intruders are outsiders. In most of these cases, someone from the school community was aware that there was a threat. The people who knew that there was a danger either failed to report it or failed to report it, and no meaningful action was taken by the authorities. The fact is that policing is a reactive enterprise that has few tools to prevent these kinds of incidents from occurring. While no intervention will provide complete security, we should focus on putting early warning and prevention systems in place, dramatically reduce the likelihood of these incidents. While most important intervention is to create a healthy, trusting school atmosphere in which students feel safe to bring the concerns about their own well-being and threats to the school, to pay attention to teachers and administrators without fear that they or their fellow classmates will be ignored or criminalized. A stronger partnership between schools, families, communities, and healthcare providers. Together, these institutions provide a web of protection that can help identify potential threats and take proactive steps to reduce the likelihood of school shootings. Parents, clergy, doctor, and others should be seen as resources in identifying and addressing potentially threatful behavior, and should be in communication with schools, responding to threats with both greater target hardening and therapeutic interventions. It means doing more to bring the community into the classroom, which would be aided by a community school model that brings a relationship with families and community based on service providers. Among the steps that could be taken are implementing programs like Praise from Philadelphia, which produce a positive school environment in ways that attempt to reduce everyday aggression behavior like bullying that contribute to the emotional distress and isolation, which are linked to school shootings. We also need to reduce the isolation of some students feel because of academic failure, bullying, problems at home, and et cetera.
Thank you.
Angie?
Hello, my name is Angelique and I'm from the Freedom Art Squad. We will be talking about movements against school policing. Over the last few years, dozens of cities, large and small, have eliminated school policing programs and replaced them with a variety of student services and alternative disciplinary systems. Here in LA County, across the US and internationally, communities are rethinking and their reliance on school police to produce safe and successful schools. These movements have been led primarily by parents and students themselves and have occurred mostly in communities of color. In February 2021, the Los Angeles Unified School District voted unanimously to significantly reduce the size of its school police force. The district reduced the number of officers by 133 positions, reducing the police budget from $77.5 million to 52.5 million. That savings plus additional resources went into a Black student achievement plan that concluded $4.4 million for curriculum and instruction, including expanding and diverse representation, inclusion of Black authors and social justice connections, $2.4 million for teacher professional development,
$2 million for school curriculum grants and school to supplement their curriculum to make it more inclusive to Black students. $2 million for community partnership to work with organizations that have demonstrated success with Black students. $30.1 million for school climate and wellness to reduce over-identification of Black students in suspensions, discipline, and other measures through targeted intervention. $7.9 million for psychiatric social workers, $7.6 million for counselors, $2.9 million for school climate coaches, $6.5 million for restorative justice advisors, and $52 million for flexible climate grants. In 2020, the Claremont Student Equity Coalition and conglomerate of student organizations and Claremont Change, a local grassroots group, began calling for
30
the
seconds.
removal of SROs from local schools and replacing them with student-centered support services. That November, the City Council created a working group to solve the issue. In July 2021, the Claremont City voted council unanimously to end its SRO program. In its
Time.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have one more comment on an agendized item, 10F. Vivian?
My time has already started, but I want to commend all them young folks. Let's give them a hand again for what they've said about cancel the contract and Christian Green. I'm that parent again, Vivian Eskridge. Everybody knows I'm in the paper. I'll tell you about it afterwards. But Christian Green, I saw this information about the group calls for Antelope Valley Union High School District's investigation as I was getting prepared to do what the judge asked me to do, because I don't have to pay $20,000 to James Stockdale nor Anthony Hunt, two teachers that I feel in my heart, in my opinion, should be fired from the district, coming for a parent who put a UCP complaint because of a coach calling the kids the N-word, and that was Coach DJ Hines. Special, and behind the fact that some of these kids had special education on the team that we're speaking about from Highland High School. And all this stuff that you guys have about talking about mental health, it's just what you say. You make everything look good, beautiful building, but you don't come out and do nothing for these kids. So when I happen to see that Christian Green's coming to cancel the contract, which I agree that there should be a uniform type of program, maybe with probation and all that, because most probation officers that are in the camps, you have to have a degree. Many of the people that are working in, as far as police officers, sheriffs, you don't have a degree. You just come off of school. Remember that incident around the corner? So that they had that fake guy acting like he got shot by people in the neighborhood. But anyhow, let me say this why I'm really upset about this here program, this here notice in the paper talking about students living with certain disabilities in Antelope Valley are more likely to be funded and funneled into the criminal justice system, that they are to be routine instead of being routine or routed to college. That's by this investigation going on. But listen to the worst part. During Mr. David Vieira, because this is all about you all wanting to nominate this building as a David Vieira building. That's wrong. Let me tell you who you should do this for. Do it for Dr. Ruffin. She is the first Black board member on the team. Do it for her. Let's do it for my girl right here, Mrs. Orozco. Do it to people of color, because David Vieira, under his watch, let people get, they had molestations. The girl got raped by a teacher, other fundings. You guys all been on investigations. We all got cases going on in this case, in this dorm. Everybody know we all got small cases, because I came to the district for the kids that are on the board. But let's say this, during his watch in 2018, the district's suspension rate was 8.1%, while the state suspension rate was 3.6. Guess what color kids that happened to? And guess what kids they were? They weren't just every kid. They were special ed kids, Black kids, brown kids. So it ain't like you're doing a big thing for everybody, talking about all these programs that you got sitting up here for mental health and all that. You're not helping. If a parent want to call for a mental health person to come get treated, they might get killed on the ground. They might get killed. They don't want to call because they're going to get killed. Then it'll be on national TV because you're looking for their background to see if they were criminals when they've had mental health issues. So it's just a joke and a mockery. And I'm going to continue to say something as a parent, because what you did and allowed that teacher, DJ Hines and Stockdale and Hunt, to continue to be a teacher in this district is a shame. And because Dr. Ruffin pointed it out, you all should be ashamed for what you don't do, which is enforce helping the kids. So I'm happy to say what I got to say every time I learn something. So,
Time.
thank you.
Ms. Roscoe, that's all, that finishes the comments from the agendized items?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so do we have any on non-agendized?
Yes, we do.
Okay, let me read the comment then. The public is invited to address the board on any matter not on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the board. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. The total time for public input shall be limited to 20 minutes. During public comments, the board listens to concerns and issues. The board may ask questions for purposes of clarification. The law prohibits the board from entering into a dialogue with the public or taking action on items that are not on the agenda. How many comments do we have?
We have 5 for non-agendized. First speaker, Eugene Hernandez.
Eugene Hernandez, Antelope Valley Green Party. How is it different if a group of teachers in your district would form a gang and they would pride themselves on expelling a student and get tattoos? Well, that's exactly what the sheriffs do. They have sheriff gangs in each station, and when they maim or kill a person of color, black or brown, they get tattoos. The Lancaster Sheriff's Department gang is called the Rattlesnakes. The Palmdale station is called the Cowboys. How could you have such a ruthless law enforcement agency patrolling these schools? You know, for the 82 sheriffs you have on campus, you should use that money to hire more teachers, more nurses, more librarians, instead of just having, if teachers are afraid to teach because their students are black or brown, they should not be in this profession. You know, they're in the wrong profession. We're using our tax money to brutalize our kids, and that's wrong. I think that the board doesn't have a handle on what's happening in the community. Like the woman said, that all those nice presentations, no one consulted her. This board used to have a Latino Advisory Committee, which I helped to establish. I asked that you bring that back. I also asked that you have an ombudsman from the community to advise this board. And I noticed that some of the schools have Black Knowledge Days. What about Latinos? You know, we're 60% of this population. We should be able to have some students know about our history, the history of the Southwest. There's many things this board should explore about reaching the community. But first of all, cancel the contract with the sheriffs.
Carla Galvin.
Hello, I'm sorry, I just have to comment that education starts at home and it's not the teacher's responsibility to educate our kids. Good evening, members of the board and anyone watching this meeting. My name is Carla Galvin. One of my kids attends a school in this district. It was brought to my attention that a school in your district only recites the Pledge of Allegiance on Wednesdays out of the 5 days that students attend school. That is pretty ironic when in fact all of you recited the Pledge of Allegiance before starting this meeting. It literally takes about 10 seconds to recite, so why is it not implemented the other days? Is the word of God too offensive or abrasive for school? I find that pretty sad that a group of adults can say it prior to starting the board meeting, yet our children are not able to do it, and they're able to do it just once a week. Do you not remember reciting the Pledge of Allegiance when you attended school? Because I do, not a day was missed. What is so complicated about teaching our children a simple pledge for a wonderful nation? Is that a part of the opt-out curriculum, or is this something that the district took upon themselves without the voice of we the people or we the parents? Let's not forget that the board works like a body of government. You're supposed to provide the voice of the students through their parents. It is not what the state tells us to do or what the district decides upon without the voice of the people. However, it seems that the elected officials believe that this is how it works. If you've been paying attention to the certain Assembly and Senate bills, they have not been going through. It is because we, the people, have had enough and are standing up for what we believe in, and we truly know what is right, especially when it's pertaining our children, not the states, not the governments or school boards. These are our children. Another issue I wanted to talk about are the signs you continue to have all around the school's campus. There are still signs around that state to please wear a cloth face covering. First of all, wearing cloth face coverings the least effective, and we're no longer allowed. Second, why are there signs still up when masks are now optional? Why do you continue to put fear into these teenagers? They already have so much going on. Another sign that you have all around the campus states that masks prevent the spread of COVID-19, which is completely false. Why are you guys still spreading misinformation? We, the parents and citizens, are starting to rise up all over the nation to participate in taking back what was freely provided to us by God. Now may be a great time to consider what side of history you want to be on. Parents, this is a time to stand up for your children before it is too late. Take back your parental rights that these individuals have been trying to take from you for so long. We need to reshape our amazing, wonderful nation. May God bless you. Thank you.
Mark Napolitano.
That's debatable. Good evening, my name is Mark Napolitano. So when we cancel the contract, we won't call 911, right? When your house gets broken into or anything like that, you guys aren't gonna call 911, right? Exactly. Oh, I'm educated. Okay. A recent article, April 13th in the AV Times titled "The Time to Reimagine School Policing in the Antelope Valley is Now." The article speaks about cities that have eliminated school policing and replaced them with a variety of student services and alternative disciplinary systems, claiming in LA County cities have done such to produce safer, more successful schools led primarily by students and parents in low-income communities of color. The article does not state any statistics on the benefits of the implementation of these alternative disciplinary systems and student services, or statistics of fights or any other police involvement issues on our local campuses. I did contact the district office this morning, in which they stated they did not have information pertaining to police or sheriff responses at our local campuses. The following fights were at one campus. On October 26th of 2021, approximately 50 people fighting at Lancaster High School. Units, sergeant and route update request additional units, code 3 for crowd control requesting airship. Update 2, multiple uncooperative students detaining several. Update 3, request 902R for injured students. Fire department staging until clear to enter. This is also Lancaster High, August 19th, August 25th, February 10th. There are 2 fights, March 29th, April 7th, and 12th. If you go on to good old AV Scanner News, so this is all stuff that's broadcasted. AV Scanner News, bro. Did you already speak? All right, thank you. So 6 days ago, possible 415, 417 at 3200 East Avenue J, Eastside High. 2 female black adults and a male black adult fighting with students in quad. Sheriff and route code 3. Adult family members of 2 students fighting each other. Secondhand information that both parties may have guns. Deputies requesting school be put on lockdown, checking on airship. School security has 3 irate parents in the office. Numerous units on scene, code 4A. Confirm no guns on campus, detaining and asserting further.
30 seconds. Wow, April 13th, 4:15, East Avenue R, Palmdale High School, large group of students. Little Rock High School, student involvement in a fight earlier today, now passed out. I mean, the evidence is there, so the rest I found on AV Scanner News media site. To me, it seems police sheriff presence is not a bad thing on campus. I do believe we have a larger issue with either poor parenting or lack of discipline at home and or school. The article also states abolishing school policing and implementing alternative strategies, keep young people safe and helping foster their education that don't come with negative consequences
Excuse me.
of
Time.
relying on
Time.
police. I have one paragraph.
Time.
Thank you.
If the SRO program was not of importance, I'm sure the board would not feel
That is,
the need of having a
That
local sheriff with
is
this
it.
now and for security.
Oh, 1 second? All right, okay. Well, my concern, on non-agendized items is, how do I put this, man? Our equity infrastructure, if you will. Somebody mentioned earlier, the, LAUSD, Black Student Achievement Plan. Palmdale just had one that was praised by the CTA at a conference. Many of our local districts have, Latino student achievement program and African American achievement programs with leaders at the district level, with corresponding groups at the site level, African American parent advisory committees. I mean, really being purposeful and intentional, and trying to, or at least visually trying to reach out and do something for Black students, because we know that they're suffering. And we know they're having a very, very difficult time. Why are we so far behind everybody in regards to that? We have an equity director, but it's an individual with a secretary, and I think that is absolutely untenable. There should be a minimum. And especially being the high school district, we should be out ahead in this here, and not so far behind. So I think we should really be considering that. Beefing that type of thing up and looking at what's going on. And, this is, Lancaster District, Eastside District, Palmdale District, like where were we, when all these other decisions were being made around the district? And how come we weren't moving on them? And do we plan to? Are we taking this, are we taking these students seriously? Because, LAUSD took some of that SRO money and invested it and trying to benefit Black youth instead of busting them on the back end. So I think it's very important that we take a look at some of those models and consider something like that ourselves.
Vivian?
It never ceases to amaze me how it seems like sometimes comments come up here talking about what's going on with the district and what kids are doing, what the schools are doing. Like I said, in every profession, there are people that do wrong. There are sheriffs that do wrong. There's probation officers that do wrong. Y'all people, some of them you do wrong, and you know it. Every profession, there's people that do wrong. Can't give them all a bad name about officers. But the problem that you guys know about the officer situation is it doesn't work. And you know what? The problem, like the young man just said, if you got this equity officer or something like that, why don't you have at every school district somebody of two colors, brown and Black? Have them come in and tell what they see going on with the community. Get them with him. Get them on the team like that. Help them out about that, because something needs to be done, and you're not doing it. So let's just go there. But I'm back up here again because I want to say one more thing about this here. Thing about the kid, the investigation you guys got going on here. Black students with disabilities are suspended at a 7 times rate of white suspensions in the district. The complaint said A Black student with a disability in the Antelope Valley has a 1 in 4 chances of being suspended, and almost half of the Black students who are suspended by the district are suspended multiple times. You know what you're doing because they talk about how they always go you're sending them all the way to this independent studies. You're doing the things that you don't want to be seen and everything. So let's not think that everything on the east side is all bad, because what's on the west side, trust me, and I know, is just as bad on the west side than it is on the east side. So let's not act like this town out here is something to be worshiped, because you know what's going on in this town. So let's keep it real. But I also came up here to tell you that I want you to check out the Antelope Valley Press for Resurrection Day Sunday that just passed. I sure wish that Shannon Williams would have helped me when Dr. Vieira said that he was going to come into our office and help us parents that came with a UCP complaint about what the kids have been through, all those kids that need some mental health issues. I would say on that basketball team, and I'm going to say it till I just fall out. I don't care. I might need some too. I think you all do too. But the issue that I'm gonna say is this: you sat up and you let a coach call the kids the niggas. Go out there and play like niggas. You turn around and don't know what half those kids are going through. Some of them kids' parents have died. Have you checked on them? Have you checked on those students? No, you haven't. Or other kids are struggling. They all are struggling. But the issue I'm gonna say is, because of that, I had 2 teachers come to sue me that y'all knew about, and thank God I didn't have to. But I want you to look in the classified ad of Resurrection Day, April the 17th, and see what the judge asked me to do. It was making sure that I clarify, and you all know it. Never said to Stockdale or Hunt, called them kids the words in, didn't tell them that they harassed them. They didn't do nothing. They were not even in the school about that. But they put themselves in here to save Dr. Vieira.
30 seconds.
All of you all, especially, I might as well admit it to you too, Ms. McGray, all y'all want to worship him. But as Dr. Ruffin called him out and it's being called out, I tend to wonder, how is it that he all of a sudden just retired all of a sudden? Because he knew all this stuff was going down, right? In the investigation. I'm sure that the attorneys and everybody knows, the general counsel know, there's so much is going on. He didn't want to tarnish his name, but please, I'll advise you all, you're going to do it anyway. Do not change this boardroom to Dr. Vieira.
That's all of our speakers.
Thank you very much. We always appreciate hearing what the public has to say. We're moving on now to 7A. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees receive the attached curriculum guide for review. This is a guide on anatomy and physiology. This is a first read discussion. Do I have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms.
Did I jump
McGrady,
ahead?
just items A through D are all first reads. They can be accepted together.
Okay, I think that's an excellent idea. So that would be for the anatomy and physiology, creative writing and publishing, the introduction to culinary arts and hospitality management, and forensic science, criminal justice investigation. These are all first reads and for discussion. Do we have any comments? No? Okay, then we'll just move right on. We'll go to E, Education Services. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review the proposed revisions to the BP-AR as presented. Again, this is a first read discussion. Any questions or comments? All right, we are moving next to Personnel Services on 8. We will open, conduct, and close a public hearing for the California School Employees Association's initial proposal for negotiations to the collective bargaining unit agreement with the Antelope Valley Union High School District for 2022-2023 school year. We will open the meeting at 6:48. And Mr. Neal, do we have any comments?
Just a couple of real quick comments. As you know, this is our annual opportunity to sit down with CSEA on issues that are involved in contract language. And this year, the entire contract is not open, so we all have our openers, and you'll see those in your agenda tonight. I would echo Ms. White. We look forward to getting together. We've done that for quite a number of years now, and we always have some great productive conversation. So we're looking forward to starting the season of negotiations.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? No. Okay, hearing none. Comments from the public? Again, hearing none, we will close the public meeting at 6:49 and move right on to B. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees acknowledge receipt of the California School Employees Association's initial proposal for negotiations to the collective bargaining unit agreement with the Antelope Valley Union High School District for the 2022-2023 school year. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. And second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Do we have any discussion? Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll now Call for the vote. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is still absent, I believe. Okay, and Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye, and Ms. Nguyen is absent. So the item passes with a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are at C. We will now open a public hearing for the Antelope Valley the Antelope Valley Union High School District's initial proposal for negotiations to the California School Employees Association Collective Bargaining Unit Agreement for the 2022-2023 school year. We will open the public hearing at 6:50. Mr. Neal.
So you just acknowledged receiving CSEA's proposal. And so what you have right here is the district's proposal. We too would like to discuss salary as well as benefits and as compensation package plans. We would also like to enter into some discussions with CSEA regarding Article 13 that deals with safety on our campus. So that's where we will head.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the staff or from board? Questions? Hearing none, we ask the public. Do we have any comments or questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, we will close the open meeting at public hearing at 6:51. And it is recommended that the Board of Trustees acknowledge receipt of the Antelope Valley Union High School District's initial proposal for negotiations to the collective bargaining unit agreement with the California School Employees Association for the 2022-2023 school year. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Perrell.
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent, and so the item passes with a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are at item E. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with CSEA as presented regarding the job reclassifications. May I have just the job classifications. May I have a motion?
Motion.
No. Okay, that with Ms. Perrell and Mr. Rush is a second. Do we have any questions? Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent. So the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with a student board member voting aye. We are on F. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with CSEA as presented regarding excess vacations. May I have a motion?
Motion.
That was Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. And do we have any discussion or comments or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent. So the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on G. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the attached declaration of need for fully qualified educators as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Ms. Perrell. Thank you. Second? Second, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent. The item passes with a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. Get water. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and direct the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services to submit a short-term staff permit allowing this individual to teach in the subject area included. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Perrell, thank you. A second? Second, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. And Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent. So the item passes with a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. We are on I. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and direct the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services to submit a variable term waiver allowing this individual to teach in the subject areas indicated. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes with a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. We are on J. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and direct the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services to submit a variable term waiver, allowing this individual to teach in the subject area indicated. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, first by Ms. Perrell, second by Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Okay, Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on item 9A, conduct a public hearing to consider entering into an energy service contract to implement energy-related item improvements. So we will open the meeting at 6:55. Mr. Hopkins.
Yes, thank you very much. We are bringing this item back. I originally brought this to you last month. This has to do with using our ESSER funds to improve the air conditioning and building units at Desert Pathways, SOAR Prep, Desert Winds, Palmdale High School, Quartz Hill. Each one will get something out of it from using those. And so I just wanted to bring this back for the public hearing portion. And I can go more in depth, but I did do a presentation last time.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the board? We thank you for your presentation last time. I still remember that. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, we will close the meeting or the public hearing at 6:56 and move on to item B. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve a contract of energy services. So Southern Pacific West Energy Solutions, and authorize Brian Hawkins, Assistant Superintendent, to execute the contract documents on behalf of the district. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Mr. Rush, thank you. Any discussion or questions? We will now call for the vote. Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes with a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. We are on C. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-31 to sell the properties located at 44811 North Sierra Highway and 548 West Lancaster Boulevard. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. Second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on number D. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-32, declaring Reality Works VR welding simulator as a sole source per public contract code 3400. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Perrell.
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Mrs. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on letter E. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the purchase of the Guide Weld VR welding simulators manufactured by Reality Works and authorize Brian Hawkins, Assistant Superintendent, to execute contract documents relating to the purchase. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on F. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees accept the settlement agreement and mutual release with Gary Little Construction Incorporated and authorize Brian Hawkins to execute the agreement on behalf of the district. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees award a contract with Reliable Floor Covering as the lowest responsible bidder and authorize Brian Hawkins to execute the contract on behalf of the district. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Pearl. A second? Mr. Rush, you going to make a second? Thank you. And do we have any discussion or questions? Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Pearl, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Thank you. Ms. Nguyen is absent. The item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on H. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees award a contract with Reliable Floor Covering as the lowest responsible bidder and authorize Brian Hawkins to execute the contract on behalf of the district. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Do we have any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent. The item passes by a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. We are on I. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees authorize an agreement with the DLR Group based on the attached proposal and authorize Brian Hawkins, Assistant Superintendent, to execute the agreement on behalf of the district. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent. The item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on J. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with T-Mobile to provide 1,000 wireless mobile lines of service and devices to the district and authorize Brian Hawkins to execute the agreement. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Mrs. Nguyen is absent. So the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. We are on item K. Subscription, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve a 2-year subscription with Robin Powered and authorize Brian Hawkins to execute the subscription on behalf of the district. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent, and the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. We are on 10. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-26, Teacher Appreciation Week for May 2nd through the 6th, 2022. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. And we have something to read. Let me read this really. I'm going to read the condensed version for Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas teachers mold the future citizens through guidance and education and encounter students of widely differing backgrounds, and they are our country's future, depends upon providing quality education to all students. And our teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community services. And whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of the community, let it therefore be resolved that the Antelope Valley Union High School District recognizes May 2nd through the 6th as Teacher Appreciation Week. And I realized as I finished reading that, we probably should have taken the vote first, but sorry. I'm just assuming you're going to vote for it, but let's find out. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. And Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Thank you, is an aye, so it did pass. Ms. Nguyen is absent. The item does pass by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye, and that would have been the appropriate time to read that. So we'll fix that for the next one. We are on B. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-27. That classified school employee week is May 15th to the 21st. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell, a second. Thank you, Mr. Rush. Do we have any discussion or questions? Let's take the vote. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Thank you. And Ms. Nguyen is absent. So the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. And Ms. Perrell is going to read us a little bit about the classified employees
Yes.
week.
Whereas classified professionals provide valuable services to the schools and students of the Antelope Valley Union High School District and contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment and a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of the Antelope Valley Union High School District students. And whereas classified professionals in the Antelope Valley Union High School District strive for excellence in all areas relative to the educational community. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Antelope Valley Union High School District hereby wishes to honor the contribution of the classified professionals to quality education, and now therefore be it resolved, the Antelope Valley Union High School District recognizes the week of May 15th through 21st, 2022 as Classified School Employee Week, adopted this 20th day of April 2022 by the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board of Trustees.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to C. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-28, the National School Nurse Day, May 11th, 2022. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell, a second. Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent. So it passes with a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. And Mr. Rush is going to read something about the nurses.
Do you have any nurses here? Nope. National School Nurse Day, May 11th, 2022, resolution number 2021-22-28. And we agreed that I wasn't going to read the resolution number, but I forgot. Whereas children are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. And all students have the right to have their health needs safely met while in the school setting. And whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, and lifelong achievements of all students by providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children. And whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the community, parents, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health. And whereas school nurses support the health and education success of children and youth by developing and providing programs and leadership, and school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make positive difference for our children every day. Therefore be it resolved. The Antelope Valley Union High School District recognizes May 11th, 2022 as School Nurse Day, adopted this 20th day of April, 2022 by the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board of Trustees.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to D. This is to adopt the resolution to order the biennial governing board election. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-29 to order the biennial governing board election as directed by the Los Angeles County Office of Health. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Mr. Rush, you want to make a second? Thank you. Do we have any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. We are on letter E. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-30, the Consolidated Election Questionnaire, November 8th, 2022, and direct administration to file the district's response with the Office of the County Registrar Recorder no later than May 5th, 2022. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. And Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with a student board member voting aye. We are on F. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2021-22-33, dedicating the boardroom to Dr. David J. Vieira. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Do we have any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. And Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with the student board member voting aye. And I do have something to read that goes with that before we move on. This is a resolution of the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board of Education dedicating the boardroom to Dr. David J. Vieira. Whereas David J. Vieira, PhD, recently retired as the Antelope Valley Union High School District Superintendent following more than 40 years of service to public education. Dr. Vieira served the Antelope Valley Union High School District for 37 of those years, including 20 years as the district superintendent. The board now desires to dedicate this boardroom located at the district office to the former district superintendent, Dr. David J. Vieira, in recognition of his tireless service to our district students, our staff, his years of dedication and commitment to the district, and unwavering integrity and professionalism. Now, therefore, the Board of Education of the Antelope Valley Union High School District does hereby resolve, determine, and order as follows. The foregoing recitals are hereby adopted as true and correct. This room is now dedicated to and named for Dr. David J. Vieira. So the new name, the Dr. David J. Vieira Boardroom at the Antelope Valley Union High School District, shall remain in effect unless and until the district otherwise desires. I think he deserves a round of applause. Thank you. I think we are planning some sort of, but we'll have information on that.
That'll be at a subsequent meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are at the consent agenda, and I believe that I believe we have one thing on the, well, wait a minute, I've got to read some of this first, don't I? Yeah, sorry. We have to, I've totally forgotten what to do. All right. Oh, thank you. Okay, we are at the consent agenda, and actions proposed for the consent agenda are items consistent with adopted policies and approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. The board will be asked to approve all of the items in the consent agenda by a single vote unless any member of the board asks that an item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the items listed in the following consent agenda categories: education services, student services, personnel services, business services, and administrative services as presented. So may I have a motion first to get that on the floor?
Mrs. McGrady, before we get the motion, could we pull item 12F?
Okay.
It'll be brought back for future consideration.
Okay, thank you. So we will pull item 12F. This is educational services, renew my access Vantage learning. We will pull that and bring it back in May. So now may I have a motion for the rest of the consent agenda?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Brill, and a second. Thank you, Mr. Rush. Do we have anyone who wants to pull anything or discuss anything?
No.
All right. Sorry, I'm just taken back by the moment. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye, Ms. Nguyen is absent, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. So that takes us over to number 17, I believe, from the board and superintendent. Mr. Martinez, do you have anything you'd like to share this evening?
Yeah. I just would like to thank all the ICC members from every school who came down and gave a great presentation. I think it's great to know how every campus is doing things that are similar and different, and I appreciate seeing all of that. And I also want to thank all of our security that work at every campus, but especially Mr. George Diaz. I get there every morning, very early for zero period, and he's always there. And when I'm leaving, he's always there. And here he is, currently still here. So I just want to appreciate him. He was great. That'll be all.
Thank you very much. Ms. Prill?
Yes, I wanted to thank all the students that actually came to present. It's always nice to see them presenting everything that they're doing at their schools because everything is completely different. I did have the opportunity to go to Palmdale Prep. It's actually kind of bittersweet for me because that was my daughter's she was the first graduating class there. So seeing it close down is rather sad. So it was a pleasure seeing at least one of the teachers that I really do remember, Mrs. Finks, who she's just an amazing educator and what she's doing with the students right now. I believe it's eluding me the name of the program. Who's that? What was the name of that? Hosa. Seeing the Hosa, what she does with those students is amazing. I know each campus does something different, but she has a way of connecting with the students that I've always really appreciated. So watching her travel over to Highland they're definitely going to benefit with her. And I do thank you very much, Mr. Behrman. It's always a pleasure speaking with you and talking with you anytime I get to see you. So you're doing a really amazing job with the students, especially with all the campuses. And also I want to thank all the administration, staff, and teachers, and what you're doing right now, this whole school year, you guys are doing great, as well as our security, Mr. Diaz. It's always a pleasure seeing you every time I go to night. Every time you're always with my son, so it's always great. So I do thank everyone that showed up and gave your comments. Don't think that you're not being heard. Everyone's listening. So I hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you. Mr. Rush?
Just like to thank the school, Quartz, SOAR Eastside, that all presented today. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Brady for stepping up like she always does and taking care of us. It was a great job, and it was stepping in for Danita. Hopefully she's doing well, and congratulations, Dr. Vieira, for the board being named after him. Quite an accomplishment. Quite an honor, I think, for him. So that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple things. Went out to Little Rock High School today to visit their Community Schools Initiative program. It's a partnership between Little Rock High School and the Los Angeles County Office of Education, as well as the Department of Public Health. And it's just it exemplifies what we can do when we all come together in support of students. So great job, Little Rock. And I also want to say thank you to all of the staff who was instrumental in getting us into this building. M&O did an amazing job moving us. Scott Fish is in the back. Havens was here somewhere. We could not have done it without you. You guys were amazing. Thank you. And also to our IT folks who took 130 computers apart and put them back together in 2 days. So great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're just moving right along from our readout from closed session. Our members that were present, Amanda Perrell, John Rush, and Jill McGrady. Our members who were absent, Dr. Victoria Ruffin and Danita Nguyen. During closed session, the board held a conference with labor negotiators, Mr. Brett Neal, regarding a certificated bargaining unit, classified bargaining unit, an unrepresented group, and the board took no action. During closed session, the board considered a public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment, non-reelect. The board took no action. During closed session, the board considered employee appointment, title Director 2, categorical and special programs by a vote of 3-0. The board took action to approve the appointment of Jennifer Slater Sanchez to the Director 2, categorical and special programs. During item D, during closed session, the board considered employment appointment title for vice principal, and these were all by a vote of 3-0. And the folks who are identified now as vice principals, Terry Castellon, Catherine Diaz, Terry Guamaro, Jorge Maldonado, Ariana Rodriguez, and Nicole Williford. We are at item E, public appointment title assistant principal. These were all by a vote of 3-0 in closed session. Our new APs are Megan and, let's see, Andrew, excuse me, I can't read my own writing, Jennifer Griffey and AJ Parmesabaran. And then we go to item F, and this is by a vote of 3-0. The board took an action to approve for the title of principal, the names of Tammy Nichols and Lisa Schmidt. Moving to item G, the title Assistant Superintendent in Educational Services, by a vote of 3-0, the board took action to approve the appointment of Dr. Chris Grado. You got a standing ovation. Item H, may I please have a motion to approve the administrative hearing panel recommendation for student expulsions and to order as presented the expulsion of 10 students. We need a motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second. Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion or questions? And I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez, you don't get to vote on this, but Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is an absence, so the item passes by a vote of 3-0. We read item I. During closed session, the board considered the final settlement and release agreement STS 22087 by a vote of 3-0. The board took action to approve the final compromise and release agreement. Item J, during closed session, the board considered final settlement and release agreement STS 22093 by a vote of 3-0. The board took action to approve the final settlement and release agreement. And during closed session, the board considered claim number 22-0315001 by a vote of 3-0. The board took action to reject the claim. In item L, during closed session, the board considered claim number 22-0405001 by a vote of 3-0. The board took action to reject the claim. During closed session, the board considered one case of anticipated litigation, but the board took no action. And that brings us back to adjournment. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Farrell, a second. A second, Mr. Rush. Any discussion? Is there anyone who's not wanting to leave? No, you want to stay? No. It's too late? Okay. But on a more serious note, I would like to close the meeting in memory of Diane Shorter. Diane Shorter was hired in 2005 as a volunteer coordinator at Little Rock High School, having excuse me, I guess, okay, we're just closing in her honor. So we need to now take a vote. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Perrell.
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin is absent. Ms. McGrady is an aye. And Mr. Rush? Aye. Ms. Nguyen is absent. So the item passes by a vote of 3-0 with our student board member voting aye. And we have completed our first meeting in our new building. Thank you for being here.